They told you to visualize your dream, to speak it into existence, to write it daily, to feel it so vividly that the universe would have no choice but to respond. But what if all that effort, all that attraction, is actually pushing what you want further away? No one talks about this. The hidden paradox within spiritual manifestation, the illusion that says you must constantly reach for what's meant for you. Because here's the energetic truth most never realize. Every time you try to pull something toward you, you confirm to the quantum field that it is not yet part of you. You declare lack, not alignment. This silent frequency, the one buried beneath your affirmations, tells the universe, it's outside of me, it's distant. I don't have it. And the field, always listening to your vibration, not your words, mirrors that back with exact precision. This is where transformation begins. Not with more action, more desire, or more high vibes, but with a shift in identity, a shift in being, because the universe doesn't reward effort. It reflects coherence. It doesn't give you what you beg for. It reflects who you are being, moment to moment. You're not waiting for your dream life. You're just broadcasting a signal that says it's somewhere else. And the moment you become aware of that, the moment you stop chasing and start matching, everything begins to shift. Your job was never to attract. It was always to remember. What if you're not waiting for your reality to change? You're unconsciously rejecting it because your frequency hasn't yet caught up. The moment you stop thinking manifestation is about doing more and begin to see it as a matter of seeing differently, everything shifts. Because here's the illusion no one tells you: you're not supposed to get the life you dream of. You're meant to remember that you already are it. This truth doesn't just change your mindset, it silences the inner noise, the restless striving, the emotional burnout, the constant second guessing, all dissolve. Because now you see, you were never separate from what you desire. You were simply broadcasting on the wrong frequency. This isn't about learning how to attract something external. It's about learning how to collapse into what's already real, within the infinite field of quantum possibility. The future you dream of. It's not something you chase, it's something you embody. And that quantum field you keep asking to respond. It's been waiting for your signal all along. What if everything you've ever wanted already exists? Not in some faraway destiny, but right here, in a version of this present moment you haven't yet tuned into. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is quantum mechanics. Because in classical thinking, time moves in a straight line, cause then effect, action, then result. You act, you receive. But in the quantum world, time doesn't behave like that. Reality doesn't unfold. It already exists, as an infinite spectrum of possibilities, all vibrating simultaneously in potential, and all those potentials are waiting for one thing: your alignment. You don't attract a new timeline into being. You tune into it, you access it, you collapse it through observation, attention, and frequency. Let's ground this in real physics. At the quantum level, everything behaves both as a wave and as a particle. The wave represents pure potential, an ocean of infinite possibilities. But the moment it is consciously observed, it collapses into a particle, a specific reality. This isn't spiritual theory, it's foundational physics, demonstrated by the famous double-slit experiment. Reality behaves differently under observation, and your observation isn't passive, it's creative. Every thought you hold with intention, every emotion you repeat with intensity, every identity you reinforce with belief, becomes an instruction for what the field collapses into physical form. So manifestation isn't about asking, it's about matching. Think of your desires like radio stations. Abundance is a frequency, so is love, so is purpose, health, peace. If you're tuned to fear, lack, doubt, or survival, those frequencies can't be received. Not because they don't exist, but because you're simply out of resonance. This is where the idea of resonance becomes more than just metaphor. It becomes the mechanism. It's not wishful thinking, it's energetic law. In the quantum field, like attracts like isn't self-help fluff, it's science. Every thought, every emotion, every belief has a measurable frequency. And when your internal state matches the frequency of what you desire, the field doesn't give it to you, it mirrors it. Your identity becomes the signal, your energy becomes the command. This is where the timeless wisdom of Neville Goddard meets quantum truth. His teaching, Assume the Feeling of the Wish Fulfilled, isn't about pretending, it's about embodying. Feel now what your future self already feels. Not to fake it, but to broadcast it. To tune into the timeline where it already exists. Not as a fantasy, but as your natural state. You don't manifest reality by thinking hard enough. You manifest by being the version of you who naturally lives it. And this is why chasing delays everything. Because the act of chasing carries the frequency, I don't have it yet. And that vibration only grants you more longing, more absence, more resistance. But when you enter the frequency of presence, not as a performance but as real internal coherence, you move from asking to allowing, from wishing to receiving, from hoping to knowing. Let's simplify everything. Reality isn't outside of you, it's inside your frequency range. You don't need to pull it in, you need to tune in. That means regulating your inner state. Feeling abundant before the money arrives. Feeling loved before the relationship shows up. Feeling whole before the world reflects it back. This is not delusion, it's precision. The quantum field is not testing your patience, it's responding to your vibration. And when your thoughts and emotions resonate with your desired life, the field collapses in your favor, not as a reward, but as a law. Let that land deeply, because you don't manifest from needing, you manifest from knowing. So if you're not seeing it yet, it's not because the quantum field is testing you. It's not waiting for you to prove anything. It's not withholding until you finally get it right. The field doesn't play favorites. It simply reflects, without emotion, without delay, without exception. The delay you're experiencing isn't punishment. It's feedback. It's the field's way of whispering, tune in, you're broadcasting the wrong signal. And that's where the deeper truth emerges. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are, what you're habitually being, emotionally, energetically, neurologically. This is not about pretending. It's not about acting as if with a smile, while your inner world remains in chaos. True alignment is not a mental trick. It's a frequency shift. It's coherence between your thoughts, your heart, your breath, your being. You have to become emotionally compatible with what you desire. Because if your body doesn't feel safe in abundance, you'll subconsciously reject it. If your nervous system still equates love with pain, you'll push intimacy away. If your inner child was conditioned to survive by shrinking, you'll sabotage expansion the moment it approaches. So yes, the field listens, but not to your words, to your entire state of being. The universe isn't responding to your vision board, it's responding to your vibration board. The emotional patterns you live inside of. That's why you can repeat affirmations 100 times a day and still loop in limitation. Because if the deeper part of you, the unconscious mind, is still rehearsing fear, doubt, and control, then that's the signal that gets broadcasted. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you haven't yet become vibrationally available for what you're asking. So what does that take? It takes slowing down. It takes noticing where you still collapse into old identity loops. It takes choosing new emotional states before external conditions validate them. It means feeling the signal of abundance before the bank account reflects it. It means breathing like someone who already trusts life, even if you don't have all the answers. It means showing up as the version of yourself who no longer chases outcomes, because she knows her frequency already contains them. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is energetic architecture. It's retuning the very instrument of your consciousness so that it resonates with your chosen timeline. Here's a metaphor. You can't receive the music on 101.1 FM. If you're tuned to 87.5, the music is playing, always has been. But unless your frequency matches, you'll experience static, silence, confusion. Not because the music doesn't exist, but because you haven't matched it yet. The same is true for your dream life. It's already real, as a timeline, as a vibrational signature, as a possibility in the field. And your job isn't to attract it, it's to become resonant with it. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He wasn't teaching delusion, he was teaching precision. Because in quantum terms, the feeling is the frequency. It's the key that unlocks the potential and collapses it into form. So you don't manifest from needing, you manifest from knowing, from walking as the version of you who already holds it. Not someday, not eventually, but now. This is the shift from outer effort to inner alignment, from chasing what you want to collapsing into who you are. And the beautiful paradox is this: when you no longer need it, when you're no longer vibrating from lack, when you stop trying to get there and start being here, that's when it arrives. Not because the universe finally said yes, but because you finally did. Because the quantum field is not watching your actions, it's responding to your vibration. It doesn't listen to the words you say during your affirmations. It listens to the energy you carry in the in-between moments, in your breath, in your posture, in your most quiet thoughts. And when those are coherent, reality doesn't hesitate. It begins to shape around you, effortlessly. This is the silent power of vibrational congruence. Bruce Lipton's research in epigenetics has shown us that even your biology, your cells, are not passively reacting to the outside world. They're responding to your perception of it, your beliefs, your emotional atmosphere, your energetic baseline. So if you're trying to attract love while still vibrating in self-protection, if you're calling in abundance while emotionally rooted in scarcity, if you're visualizing joy but still embodying anxiety, you're not broken. You're just tuned to the wrong signal. No amount of external effort can override a misaligned inner frequency. Because creation doesn't begin in doing, it begins in being. And what does that mean really? It means you feel it before you see it. You embody it before you prove it. You become it before you believe it's possible. This is identity-level manifestation. It's not a mental exercise. It's not performance. It's energetic integrity. So ask yourself, the version of you who already lives in the reality you desire, how do they breathe? What do they no longer fear? What emotions do they choose moment to moment, regardless of conditions? These are not aesthetic details. They're vibrational keys. Because when you start to align with even a fraction of that future version of you, you initiate what physicists call a timeline merge. You collapse the distance between what you want and who you are, not with effort, but with resonance, not by chasing, but by choosing. This is the collapse of old loops, the dissolution of misaligned identities, and the field feels it, it recognizes it, and it moves. It may look like nothing is happening, but your timeline just tilted. In that moment of coherence, you have initiated a reality shift, and it doesn't come with fireworks. There are no neon signs, no rush of validation. What arrives first is silence, stillness, a soft but deep knowing that something has changed. You may still wake up in the same room, the bank account may still show the same numbers, but you'll feel it. Your nervous system, usually restless, begins to soften. The tension between who you are and what you want loosens. You're no longer trying to prove you deserve it. You're remembering that you already are it. And this is where most people lose the thread. Because we are conditioned to see before we believe, to measure before we embody. But in the quantum field, that's reversed. Your new life appears after you've aligned, not to test you, but to reflect you. And if you slip back, if doubt creeps in, you're not failing. You're simply being invited to go deeper, to stabilize that frequency, to return to the feeling before the evidence. Faith in this context isn't passive waiting, it's energetic commitment. It says, even if the outer world hasn't caught up, I know who I am now. I feel the timeline I've chosen. I hold the signal, and the field hears it, not in your voice, but in your vibration. And like a mirror with no opinion, no bias, no delay, it begins to shape itself around the self you've become. But here's where it gets beautifully paradoxical again. The less you chase, the faster it flows. The less you doubt, the more real it becomes. The less you need, the more you receive. Because you're not pulling something in, you're pulling yourself together. Your frequency isn't just a wish, it's a command, not to control the universe, but to co-create with it. And in this co-creation, everything changes. Not because you made it happen, but because you matched what already was. And here is the most fascinating paradox in this process. When you no longer really need it, when you no longer vibrate at the frequency of lack, when you stop trying to get there and start being here, what you want begins to appear. Because you no longer want it, you have become it. And the quantum field clearly hears this transformation. It responds not because you deserve it, but because you are on the same frequency as it. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking work on epigenetics explains this at the biological level as well. Cells do not merely respond to the external world, They respond to your internal environment, your emotions, your beliefs, your vibrational state. So if you are still vibrating at the frequency of fear, doubt, or control, your body, your choices, and your habits will align accordingly. That is why you cannot escape inner work. Reality is not created somewhere out there. It is remembered within. Maybe you say, I'm ready for love, but you're still emotionally closed off. Maybe you say, I want to attract abundance, but you're still acting out of fear of scarcity. Maybe you dream of a free life, but you're still making decisions out of a desire for security. This is not a mistake, it is an opportunity, because it is a frequency mismatch that you can change the moment you notice it. And the solution is not in trying harder, it is in deeper alignment. Feel it before it happens. This is not a spiritual slogan, it is a law at the quantum level. Believing before seeing, feeling before it happens. It is not just a mental belief, it is an electromagnetic command. So when you start vibrating at the frequency of the reality you want, the universe picks up that signal, and it perceives this as the frequency difference between who you were until now, and who you are now. And when that difference begins to close, collapse occurs. In quantum literature, this is known as the collapse of the wave function. That is one of the infinite potentials, when observed, when noticed, becomes reality. But this observation is not just looking, it is being. It is not wanting, it is remembering. It is not hoping, it is vibrational alignment. And at this point most people turn back, because nothing visible happens immediately. Your bank account doesn't change, your relationship doesn't suddenly appear, or the life you dreamed of doesn't knock on your door. But something has changed inside. Your mind has quieted, your body has relaxed, your energy is different. And this difference begins to seep into the outer world over time, like a seed underground, unseen, but growing. And that's where the most important thing begins, stability. Because staying steady in the void that follows the initial alignment is a skill. Staying there, returning there again and again, defending your new identity. And this defense is not done through struggle, it's done through calmness. So ask yourself this, am I still fighting for what I want, or am I living in the same energy field as it? Because here's what you must remember, you don't force the reality you want into existence, you approach it by aligning with it. And the more you begin to feel what you are, the more the reality of what you are finds you. Your job is not to prove yourself to the world, but to give permission to your own soul. That's why in the quantum field, everything begins with a choice. But that choice is not a decision, it is a vibration. And you no longer need the universe to say yes, because you have already said yes to yourself. At this point the external world becomes merely a reflection. Like looking into a mirror, it reflects your inner light, your confidence, your expansion. And you can now live without being dependent on external conditions. This is freedom. This is the essence and truth of creation. When you stop asking, why isn't it working? And instead start asking, what am I broadcasting? Something shifts. Because the answer is never out there in circumstances, luck, or fate. It's always inside you, in your frequency. We've been conditioned to believe that life is earned through effort. That if we work hard enough, affirm long enough, visualize consistently enough, the universe will reward us. But the quantum field doesn't work that way. It doesn't measure your work ethic. It measures your energetic match. Your frequency is your broadcast. It's a silent, constant signal that speaks louder than words. And the universe, unjudging, neutral, exact, mirrors that signal back in experience. That's why you can say all the right affirmations and still attract the wrong people. Why you can visualize wealth and still feel financially stuck. It's not because manifestation doesn't work, it's because you're broadcasting incoherence. When your heart longs for love, but your subconscious believes it's unsafe to be seen, you emit protection, not connection. When your mind dreams of financial freedom, but your emotions are rooted in scarcity and fear, you vibrate limitation, not abundance. This is why coherence is everything. Coherence is when your heart and mind are in agreement. When your thoughts align with your emotions, when your inner world becomes a single, unified signal. And this isn't just spiritual poetry, it's measurable. The HeartMath Institute has shown that when we are in a state of heart-brain coherence, our electromagnetic field becomes stronger, more harmonious, and far more influential. Your body becomes a tuning fork, your aura becomes a clear channel, and the quantum field, it responds to clarity with clarity. So when your heart says, "I already have it," and your mind believes it, the universe doesn't hesitate. It begins collapsing that potential into form, because you're finally resonating with it. But here's the catch. You won't see this shift immediately in the physical. Not always, not right away, because physical reality is dense, slow-moving, and often delayed. The energetic shift happens first. The outer world takes time to reflect the new pattern. This is where faith becomes more than belief. It becomes a vibrational stabilizer. When you've shifted your state, when you've aligned, you must hold. Hold the frequency even when the bank balance looks the same. Hold the frequency even when the person hasn't arrived yet. Hold the frequency even when there's no sign, no evidence, no proof. Because holding it says to the field, "This is who I am now, this is my new baseline." And that consistency strengthens the signal. It amplifies the field around you. It accelerates the collapse of reality. Let's make this practical. Imagine you decide, "I am abundance." You meditate, you feel peace, you breathe as if your needs are already met. You embody trust, gratitude, flow. That moment, right there, is a collapse. The field starts shifting around you. But then, you check your bank account, and it's the same. You get an unexpected bill. Doubt creeps in. The old frequency, the one you just left, whispers, "See, it's not working." But the truth is, it is working. Just like a seed planted in soil doesn't bloom overnight, your new frequency is taking root. In the dark, beneath the surface. If you dig up the seed too soon, you kill the growth. If you doubt the shift too soon, you disrupt the resonance. This is the part most people miss. The sacred silence after alignment. The invisible work. Because true change happens before it becomes visible. It happens when you choose to feel abundant, even when nothing external supports it. It happens when you radiate love before it arrives in physical form. It happens when you relax into trust before there's evidence to justify it. And this is not delusion. This is energetic discipline. Every time you hold your new frequency, you deepen the collapse. You make the new timeline more real. You close the vibrational gap between you and the life you desire. But remember, the universe isn't testing you. It's not withholding anything. It's simply echoing your current signal with perfect precision. So the real work of manifestation isn't about chasing or earning. It's about calibrating. Your inner state is your reality's foundation. Your emotions are your energetic language. Your beliefs are your blueprint. When you realize this, not just intellectually, but vibrationally, you become the creator. You stop living life by default. You stop reacting to the old. And you begin broadcasting something new. A signal so clear, the quantum field can't help but respond. Because energy doesn't lie. The universe doesn't guess. It mirrors, it listens, and it delivers not what you want, but what you are. So ask yourself not what do I want to attract, but who am I willing to become? Because once you embody that answer, reality will have no choice but to match it. And it delivers not what you want, but what you are. So ask yourself not, what do I want to attract, but who am I willing to become? Because once you embody that answer, reality will have no choice but to match it. It's not about how much you want it, it's about how deeply you've become it. Because no matter how many affirmations you speak, if your energy whispers, "I'm not ready," the field listens to the whisper. So let's be honest, what are you radiating when no one is watching? What stories still echo in your nervous system when it's quiet? This is the moment that separates surface change from true transformation. When you stop performing alignment and actually live it, you no longer chase outcomes. You no longer use rituals to bargain with the universe. You simply become the version of yourself who doesn't need to chase, because they already are. This is where the field bends, because the universe doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency, and it responds, precisely, silently, instantly, to the energetic signature you carry now, not tomorrow, not when your goals are reached, now. So ask yourself, again and again, what is my dominant vibration today? Not when I'm visualizing, but when I'm waiting in traffic, when I'm checking my bank account, when I wake up, when I go to sleep. Because that's the frequency the field is mirroring. Not your vision board, not your hopes, your state of being. If your baseline is fear, you'll keep drawing experiences that confirm fear. Not because you deserve it, but because the field cannot contradict your energy. And here's what most people miss. This isn't about blame, it's about power. Because the moment you become aware of the signal you're sending, you can change it. Not by forcing, but by feeling, by breathing differently, by choosing a new emotional home, and living in it, consistently. This is identity-level work. Not how do I get what I want, but who is the version of me that already has it? And how do they walk? How do they speak? What do they tolerate? What do they no longer entertain? You don't just visualize that person, you become them. And you do it before the world gives you a reason. You do it when there's no proof, no applause, no guarantee. That's faith. And in the quantum field, faith is not hope, it's frequency. So what happens when you hold that signal, even when the evidence hasn't caught up? Your timeline begins to tilt, not because the universe is testing you, but because it's calibrating to the new you. At first it feels subtle, you feel different, but nothing looks different. So the ego panics. It wants control, it wants proof, it wants guarantees. But the field doesn't reward control, it reflects coherence. And the more you hold your alignment in the absence of proof, the more powerful the collapse becomes. You're telling the universe, this is who I am now, and the universe has no choice but to say yes. That's how timelines shift, not with effort, with consistency, with trust, with energetic congruence. So when your heart says I already have it, and your mind stops arguing, collapse happens. Not like a lightning bolt, but like a quiet click. And from that click, a new path unfolds. People appear, opportunities align, synchronicities flow, not because you chased them, because you became the match. This is not magic, it's resonance, it's physics. Your life is not responding to your potential, it's responding to your pattern. And your pattern is whatever frequency you practice most. So let this be the moment where you shift, not what you want, but who you are. Because you are not here to chase timelines. You are here to collapse them, by remembering who you were before the doubt, before the fear, before the noise told you that you needed to become something other than yourself. And the truth is, you're already it. You've always been it. You just needed to stop arguing with your own expansion. So now ask one last time, what am I ready to broadcast? Not what do I need to prove, not what do I need to say, but who am I when no one's watching? And what is that version of me commanding from the field? Because the signal doesn't lie, and the field never misses. This is your moment. Choose the frequency, become the broadcast, and watch what reality does next. And so we arrive here, not at a conclusion, but at a convergence. The point where everything you've heard, everything you've questioned, everything you felt deep in your being, meets the truth that was always waiting beneath the noise. You were never trying to attract your future. You were simply trying to remember it. The version of you that already lives the life you dream of. She isn't out there. She isn't 10 years away. She isn't behind 1,000 hours of work or 100 affirmations. She's already in here, waiting for one thing, your permission to come forward. The quantum field doesn't reward effort. It mirrors coherence. It bends not to how hard you try, but how true you are. And truth lives in the frequency you carry, when no one is watching. It lives in how you speak to yourself when things feel uncertain. It lives in whether your nervous system says I trust, even before the evidence appears. That's the shift. That's the bridge. Because this work, this awareness, is not about bypassing your humanity. It's not about ignoring pain, or pretending you're positive 24/7. It's about integrating the version of you that already knows, I am safe to let go of old identities. I am safe to receive. I am safe to become the version of me who no longer chases. You collapse timelines by living into them. You embody realities by showing up as if they've already chosen you. Because in truth, they have. When you stop waiting, when you stop negotiating with your fears, when you stop checking if you're ready, and decide to simply be, that's when everything starts moving. Reality has no choice but to reorganize around your coherence. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer fighting against what was already yours. And yes, there will still be doubts, still be days when you look around and wonder if anything has shifted. That's normal. But here's what changes. You won't collapse when your senses catch up slower than your soul. You won't fold when the old vibration whispers, because now you know, it's just feedback. It's just the lag time between who you were and who you're becoming. So you hold, you breathe, you stay coherent, you choose again and again to embody the version of you who doesn't question if she's worthy, because she is the frequency, she is the signal, she is the shift. Let that version lead now. Let this moment be the one where you stop waiting for signs and start becoming the evidence. Let this be the timeline where you stop performing alignment and start being it. Because the universe is not testing you, it's reflecting you. And every time you return to your truth, not perfectly, but consciously, the field listens. So ask yourself again, not what do I want to attract, but who am I ready to be? Let your answer not live in words but in frequency. Let it echo in your posture, your presence, your peace, because that's what the quantum field hears. And when you stay there, even in silence, even in stillness, the collapse begins, not as a storm, but as a quiet, precise, unshakable alignment. And everything else follows, because you don't get what you want, you get what you are, and now you are becoming it.